Hi, and welcome to Box Office Maniacs. So tonight we are going to be reviewing a TV show that, as soon as I heard about it, I was like, this could work. And, of course, we're talking about the Bates Motel.
Well, because at first they said they were going to remake Psycho, and I was like, oh no. No. They already did that once, and it was absolutely horrible. But then they started talking about it as a TV show, and I was like, okay, well, that made it a little more interesting.
The fact that they're showing Norman as a teenager, I mean, that's just a stroke of brilliance right there.
They've already actually explored this in the last Psycho movie that they made, which was Psycho 4, The Beginning. But this one is actually going there and going back further and showing more. That's a cool, interesting idea.
Nobody, at least I thought nobody would ever fill the shoes of Anthony Perkins. This guy was a genius. He brought this character Norman to life. I mean, he was Norman Bates. How would they ever find somebody that even comes close to what he did in Psycho?
I felt the same way, Dave. I felt like, who are they going to actually put in here? Because, yeah, Anthony Perkins is just iconic. I mean, Norman Bates is iconic. And nobody, it's like trying to fill Indiana Jones's bullwhip and hat. You know, it doesn't, there's no one that will be able to do that other than Harrison Ford.
So Freddie Highmore, from the moment he was on screen, it was like Anthony Perkins was reincarnated. I mean, this guy destroyed this role. I mean, he took this character and he is, without question, Norman Bates.
What's so great is he's not playing Anthony Perkins playing Norman Bates. He's playing the character of Norman Bates, and that's the way it should be.
And it's phenomenal. Because I had just recently watched Psycho like 2 days ago before I started watching this show. I mean, everything about him, this guy is perfection in the role.
Yeah, he definitely has the look of Anthony Perkins. Or at least he has all his mannerisms down. All the things that Norman Bates would do, he has them down to a T.
First, he looks like he's just a regular kid, but he can like turn on and off the craziness. You can just see craziness behind what this guy is doing, and it's an incredible thing to watch. And this is just the first freaking episode. All right, so the other phenomenal thing I got to talk about here is Mother. I mean, oh my God, I don't know who this actress is, but she was great in this role. I mean, she was a total nutcase.
Yes, she did a phenomenal job because she was exactly what I would think Norma Bates would have been. I mean, she had, like I said before, they've already explored Norman's background before, and if you remember Psycho 4, you know, they showed her as being really loving to Norman, and then all of a sudden she would snap, and then she would become Psycho, you know.
And one thing is the relationship between Norman and Mother here is, you know, really weird things. I mean, they're almost kind of, what is the word I'm looking for here, Vince?
Incestual?
Yeah, they're kind of really close to each other, and they're hinting at things like that, but I don't think it's going on, but they're really hinting at it, and just by that itself is kind of like, yeah, that's, you know, interesting.
A lot of this, I mean, this is one of those things where you're watching it, and there's little stuff all the way through the movie that just goes right into the Psycho films. And if you're a fan like Dave and I are, you'd recognize them right off the bat.
The one thing I'm worried about, Vince, if there's one thing that I'm worried about on this show, and I'm hoping they're not going to do this, is that every week somebody gets murdered. You know, it's going to be like, who gets murdered this week? And like every episode, you know, somebody ends up getting killed. So it's like to be a victim of the week, like, you know, like the Monster of the Week episodes with like Supernatural and Buffy and stuff. Like every episode is about a monster they have to kill. So I'm hoping they're not going that direction with the show. If they do, you know, maybe they can make it cool and interesting. Like, oh, this guy's dead this week. You know, they're going to murder him.
That would be an interesting thing to do, but at the same time, I totally get what you're saying too.
this first episode being as incredible as it was, it would be great to see in season 3 or season 4 the progression of Norman up to the point where the movie begins. You know, that could be the last episode of the series, but I would like to see it up to that point.
Yes, and I totally agree with that because I want to see that happen. I want to see it go to that point. And even though the one thing that might throw some people off too is this is all updated. This is like going on now rather than back in 1960.
Awesome idea to have Norman living now, like it's like happening today. I think that was a great idea for the show.
I did too. At first I thought, oh man, how are they going to do that? And then I watched the show. I see exactly how they're doing it, and it would be interesting to see them get to that point that the movie starts, where you see Marion Crane, and it finally, it actually gets into that whole the original Psycho story, and see it as today, what it would be like today.
As a premiere, as the first episode of this show now, the series, I could not be more excited about it. I'm already waiting until next Monday. I can't wait until next Monday to see what happens next on the show. And I can tell you, we'll be back when the show ends at the season finale to let you know, if the show continues to be this good. But in my opinion, Vince, I'm going to tell you right now, I think this is going to be the new Walking Dead.
And I would agree with that. And I hope that it does. I mean, I really do. I hope this, because then I'll actually have 2 shows on television that I actually absolutely love.
The one thing that's good about Psycho is it's about people. It's about crazy people, but it's about people. It's not about monsters. It's not about, NCI. It's not about lawyers and all this. It's about just people that are going to slowly go insane. And there's nothing on television like that.
Right. And another thing I hope, it continues and it gets better and better. And this becomes, just as good as The Walking Dead. Another reason I hope that happens is because normally movie or TV shows that are made from movies don't work that well. Usually they die off pretty quickly, and they're really, it's hard for them to continue the success of what the movie was in a TV show. But this one, I think it's got off to a great start, and I hope it continues.
So let's bring up the Maniac meter, Vince, and see what you give it.
Okay, well, I would have to give Bates Motel, or at least the first episode of Bates Motel, a Golden Norman!
So this goes off the Maniac meter, and it gets Golden Norman! From the time it started to the time it was over, I was glued to it. And I can't wait until the next one.
What is this weird crap?